Hey guys, Josh here. You'll notice I'm missing my bass today. I don't know where it's gone. All I've got is this ukulele. I think it's time to make another video or two about life on the cruise ship because, first of all, they're my most viewed videos on this channel, which I think is absurd because everything else is so much better and more interesting, but there is a somewhat of a dearth of information on the subject. So I wanted to share a little bit more about my experience, and in this video in particular, I want to talk about, was it worth it? Is it worth doing the cruise ship thing, considering the drawbacks? Who is it worth it for? Who is it not worth it for? Just wanted to share my opinions on the matter. Keep in mind, to be fair and transparent, I've only done one cruise ship contract. I was out for 5 months on the Regent Seven Seas Mariner. So I don't have the sort of expertise on the matter that somebody who's been doing ships for a decade does. However, I do find I'm able to speak about it more eloquently than some, and I certainly asked a lot of questions and learned a lot about the profession from people who had been doing it for a long time while I was doing it. So it's not just my opinions from 5 months of doing it, it's also what I've learned from talking to more experienced people while I was on the job. Disclaimer over. A big part of my pros and cons list had to do with the health and lifestyle things being on a ship. I think it's safe to assume that most of you watching aren't following a high-carb, fruit-based, raw vegan diet the way I do, which is fine. And it means that you're not going to have the same challenges I had on board. So if you're interested in healthy living, whether you're into like locavore, Michael Pollan, sustainable diet kind of stuff, or if you're vegetarian or vegan, you are going to have trouble. It's easy to be a vegetarian, I would say. There's definitely a wide variety of meatless options. It's a little harder to be vegan because, first of all, like the people who create menus on cruise ships and like the culture on a cruise ship is not aware of the existence of vegans. There's thousands and thousands of them, but they just don't really seem to know that they exist. So you want to be careful with stuff being cooked in butter or lard or whatever, just kind of hidden animal product ingredients. But I think that you can be a vegan on a cruise ship and get enough food. Raw vegan? No, don't do it. Eat some cooked food or don't go. Or you'll lose a lot of weight and it sucks. The food quality, regardless of animal or plant origin, is not great. I mean, it's all been refrigerated and shipped for a very long time. The fruit is awful. And it just lacks a sense of vitality that you get, buying fruit at farmers markets and eating stuff that's really fresh and organic and whatnot. So that is an issue, I think. But if you don't really care about healthy living, then you're going to be fine. I mean, most of the drawbacks on a cruise ship are related to healthy living or lifestyle. So if that's not important to you, just do it, Also, the water sucks. I'm picky about water, but everybody was complaining about it, especially the women in the cast, because they care about their hair so much. And they had to shower with bottled mineral water because the chlorine in the water that ran through the tap in the shower and the toilets is just, first of all, it smells terrible, but it just fries your skin and your hair. Another weird thing about cruise ships is the social hierarchy. It's very, very much dictated by the number of stripes you have on your frickin' epaulettes. It's ridiculous. I definitely had some unpleasant run-ins with the executive chef because I was working to get enough food for myself, and just being proactive. And the human resources manager, Debbie, was really helpful. Thank you, Debbie, if you're watching this. She was really helpful. But I just had this run-in with one of the executive chefs, which is like one of the many striped epaulette positions on the cruise ship. And he was just kind of throwing his weight around, like, what are you doing in my kitchen? And I was like, I had an agreement with the last executive chef. And he was like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, not really. But, man, what a if you're watching this, you know who you are. You were very rude to me. That is not acceptable. But it is very hierarchical, like Greek officers, white people in the entertainment department for the most part, and Filipinos populate most of the rest of the crew. Not being racist, that's just how it is. And I guess it draws a lot of Filipino people into the crew positions because just the amount that they make on the ship, they can support their families back home, and it's really good. Um, but they work their asses off. Like, I complain about a lot of stuff on the cruise ship, but those people are working like 10 or 12 or 14 hours every day and just doing crappy stuff, like, cleaning the floors with these nasty chemicals or in the laundry room sniffing detergents all day. And it's like, oh my goodness. If they only knew how it hurts my soul to play in the lounge for an hour a day. Oh, the struggles of an artist. So that's some of the drawbacks. I think the lifestyle stuff is a big drawback in terms of its effect on your health and the social hierarchy and just that the social culture can be kind of negative and gnarly. I think that in a lot of ways, the culture we see on cruise ships is kind of the lowest common denominator of humanity. Maybe not the lowest, but a common denominator. I'll stick with that phrase. But there is a lot of awesome stuff too, and I want to talk about that because when I was on the cruise ship, it was a little harder to talk about the good stuff because I was so like inundated with the crappy stuff. One of the amazing things is that you're in a new country every day. You just like you're always walking out the same door out the side of the ship, and every day you're in a new place. It's like I don't know. It's like in the labyrinth when they're in the the oubliette and Hoggle opens the door and it's a closet and then he closes it and opens it the other way and it's like a door outside. It's like that, except David Bowie isn't present, which I guess you could call that a drawback too. But it's really cool. I saw so many places in 5 months. It's a very like surface level form of traveling. You're just kind of like bouncing off the top of places, but it's really cool, especially if it's your first travel experience. It really gives you a sense of where you want to check out again, where you don't need to check out again. For me, my favorite place of all, whatever, 40 countries or something I visited was Barcelona. Gorgeous. Definitely going to go back there. And I wouldn't know how much I loved it unless I had done this travel experience. And I saw so much other cool stuff, Dubai and Cape Town and Marseille and so much of Italy and Greece. It's very cool. It certainly has its limitations as a form of travel because you can't really go into depth in an area like you can if you like went and lived in Barcelona for a month. But you can get a lot out of it. You can see a lot of tourist sites, which is cool. I hate tourists too, but sometimes they're appropriate times to be a tourist, I think. I think it can also be a really great personal growth opportunity if you're kind of introverted and shy, because you're going to be meeting new people all the time, assuming that you interact with the passengers, because the crew members are fairly static since everybody's working several month contracts. But it puts you out in the public eye a lot, especially if you're a performer like I was. You're just constantly performing for people. It's really good in that way. If you are a young musician without very much performing experience, I think a cruise ship gig can be a really good idea because you're going to get a lot of performing experience. It's not necessarily going to be the most artistically gratifying performing experience you'll ever have, but you're going to be playing like multiple shows per day without days off for months at a time. I almost dropped my ukulele. For months at a time, you'll be constantly performing, especially if you're in the rhythm section playing bass or drums. Horn players get days off sometimes, but they always need bass and they always need drums. So that is good. I definitely grumbled about some of the material I was playing, and fair enough because it was awful. But I got a lot out of just playing and playing and playing. You learn something playing real gigs that you can't learn just practicing on your own. So I think that that's a really valuable part of the gig. You'll get a lot of practice reading music too. I'll talk more about all this musical specifics and how to get the gig and stuff in the next video because I know I've already talked for a long time. But to kind of get back to the initial question, is it worth it to do a cruise ship gig? Yeah, I think it is. I think it is worth it for pretty much anybody. again, I think most of the things that were a big problem for me that have caused me to not do it again are the lifestyle things that are pretty specific to me. You do make some compromises, and you know, either you're in a small room and you have a roommate, and the food's not that great, and sometimes the people can be kind of toxic. But there's so much good stuff about it, and also financially it can be great. I mean, I could go on, and maybe I will if there's demand from you viewers. But there are a lot of reasons to do it. You know, it pays pretty well, it covers your expenses, you get to travel the world, you get to hopefully do what you love if you're on doing some kind of artistic position, or if you just really get off on washing floors or something. I think that cruise ships are kind of a behemoth of an outdated cultural paradigm, and I don't know how much longer they'll be around, at least not in the form they're currently in, because as it's going, humanity is sort of driving itself into the ground, and if we don't change soon, we're all going to die. At least that's my perception. So, so work on a cruise ship while you can, before the apocalypse. So I'll make another Life on the Cruise Ship video soon. I want to address how to get a gig, what you need to be able to do to get the gig, how musically satisfying is it more satisfying to do solo work versus working in the band. I'll talk about all that in the next video. For now, subscribe to my channel so you'll know when that next video comes out. I have bass lesson videos come out every Monday. This is kind of a bonus video for all you cruise ship peeps, but if you play bass, definitely subscribe to my channel because you will learn so much. Have a splendid day.